Part 16. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 151. Chapter 151 The Only Dark Side of Night. Your things have fallen off. Ye Wei stood at the door and watched coldly. Li Moer bent down to pick up the cherry hairpin and handed it to Ye Wei. I almost forgot. Seeing that you were staring at the hairpin and seemed to like it very much, I will give it to you as a gift. She pretended to be generous, and the tone of conversation between the two did not sound like strangers. The security guards no longer forcibly pulled people away, but instead stretched out their hands to separate Ye Wei and Li Moer. Sorry, I don't accept things from strangers. Boom. With a cold word, Ye Wei closed the door without hesitation. When the solid door isolated her from the outside world, Ye Wei pressed her back against the door and slowly slid down the smooth door as if she had lost all her strength. Finally, she squatted by the door, curled up and hugging her knees with her hands. Same cherry hairpin. The pink box in Yezikin's place disappeared, and the cherry hairpin just appeared in Li Moer's hair. How can there be such a coincidence? She could pretend to be strong and disdainful in front of Li Moer, but in fact she was very scared. It's not that she doesn't trust her, but that she is afraid that Yezikin will really take care of her other sister, as Mrs. Hui said. Don't want. Can't. When she felt her eyes were a little moist, she closed her eyes tightly, hugged her knees with her arms, and gradually clenched her fingers into fists. Brother is mine alone. It can only belong to me. She opened her eyes were as clean and clear as agate, and after biting, the corners of her red lips were raised and loosened again, and then raised again. After repeating this several times, she stood up and walked to the room. She sat down in front of the dressing mirror and gritted her teeth as she closed her mouth tightly. The fingers of the clenched fist rested lightly on the edge of the table, slowly opened them, caressed the cheeks, and tried to control their facial expressions. It's so ugly. She was talking to herself in front of the mirror, as if she were looking at each other with herself in the mirror. Brother is mine and can only be mine. If anyone wants to him away. At that moment, Li Moer's words echoed in my ears. Crazy thoughts flashed through Ye Wei's mind, but they gradually subsided. Absolutely not. Don't let others know your dark side. Moreover, Yezikin must not be discovered. Ye Wei went into the bathroom and washed his face. When he came back, he had basically calmed down. He poked sweet dimples on both sides of his cheeks with his hands, as if nothing had happened. Ye Wei made an appointment with Gong Qinli to meet. Gong Qinli happily went to the appointment. I just wanted to go shopping on the weekend afternoon, so you made an appointment with me. We really have a good understanding. Gong Qinli took advantage of her height to hold Ye Wei's shoulders. Ye Wei was like a bully sister being pulled away by Gong Qinli. Oh, girls should be kind to themselves. Clothes are indispensable. Go pick out a few pieces today. Ye Wei shook his head and refused. No, what you bought is so expensive. I'm very poor now. Gong Qinli made a nonchalant promise. I'll buy it for you. Don't want. Then let Brother Chen pay, and it will be considered as a gift from him. He won't give me anything. Are you kidding? A few days ago, Nangong Luo told me that Brother Chen bought a hairpin. I don't know what kind it is. Do you know? Did Brother Chen give it to me? Delivered? Really? Gong Qinli looked at her single ponytail tied with a black headband and asked, why don't you wear it? It was not given to me, but given to Li Moer. What? So Li Yulai, I want to ask you something. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 152. Chapter 152 Smashing the Cherry Hairpin, Blackening Chapter. Li Moer got into trouble with the school boss today. Li Moer broke up with the school sweetheart today. Luo said, today Li Moer went to their class to find Brother Chen. Ye Wei leaned against the window and quietly read the message from Gong Kin Li from top to bottom, reading it again and again. Yes, the last time she asked Gong Kin Li for help was to keep an eye on Li Moer's actions. She regards Li Moer as her enemy. Tian Gong Kin Li sent her several messages in succession. Only, that little went to find Brother Chen again. But don't worry, I heard that Brother Chen ignored her. Only, I took away the little bitch's hairpin. Ye Wei's expression was normal when she read the first two sentences, but when she saw Gong Kin Li's last message, the corner of her mouth twitched. Why did you take away someone's hair card? According to Gong Kin Li's temperament, she even suspected that Gong Kin Li had directly robbed the person. How he did not receive a reply from Gong Kin Li. The situation on Gong Kin Li's side is like this. The next class in their class is a physical education course. This class has an 800-meter training run, and the students have to record the final assessment results, so the students have to be prepared. At this time, girls will take off some of the things they wear. When Li Moer took off her cherry hairpin, the people next to her were surprised and asked where she bought it. Li Moer said coyly, "It was given by someone else. I don't know where it came from. Hey, I really wish I had seen this hairpin in a fashion magazine. It must be a limited edition." I don't know who recognized that the hairpin was not an ordinary thing. Everyone thought that Li Moer was from the Ye family, and they praised her a lot. Li Moer's vanity was greatly satisfied. Humph, Gong Kin Li, who had watched this show of praise from beginning to end, snorted disdainfully. Seeing Li Moer take off the hairpin and put it in the storage box, after Li Moer left, Gong Kin Li took the hairpin away by accident. Afternoon. Ye Wei received a call for a door-to-door delivery. After opening it, he saw that the bright red cherry hairpin was randomly stuffed into the box. Gong Kin Li's appendix, she resisted the urge to beat the little and took the hairpin away, lest you couldn't wait, so I sent it to you first. Ye Wei took out the card and threw the express box into the trash can. She raised her hands, holding the hairpin in her palms and looking at eye level. Ah, in a roundabout way, you are back in my hands again. When Gong Kin Li came to see her at night, he asked her if she had received the hairpin. Ye Wei frowned and nodded honestly, "Yeah, I was shocked when I got it this afternoon." "Tch, what's the point? You don't know that Li Moer's face is so disgusting." Gong Kin Li also complained about Yezikin for playing with Li Moer, but knowing that Ye Wei was a brother controller, she did not dare to say more. "What are you going to do with the hairpin?" Ye Wei blinked and said to her innocently, "Throw it away." Since it was not the weekend, Gong Kin Li sat with her for a while and then went home. Ye Wei opened the door and walked to the room, picked up the hairpin and looked at it. So lovely. She placed her fingers on the table, palms facing up, and the backs of her hands facing down. The bright red cherry hairpin slid onto the table along her white fingers. Ye Wei took out the mini hammer from the drawer beside him and looked at the beautiful hairpin. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth and he murmured, "What a pity." Boom. The hammer hit the table, and the sound of the hammer hit the heart. Ah, when I was there at the end of Chinese Valentine's Day, I felt so happy. That feeling, tisk tisk tisk, the little bell is so cool. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 153. Chapter 153. Who gave the card? Li Moer's cherry hairpin disappeared and the whole class knew about it. Some people spread this to Yezikin's ears intentionally or unintentionally. Yezikin stopped Nangong Luo, "Go check on Li Moer's hairpin." What? Nangong Luo was so shocked that he stepped on the bench when he received this order. "Boss, do you really want to take care of Li Moer's affairs?" "No, You really want to recognize the sister? What about our only sister? Yezikin narrowed his eyes slightly, focusing on key words. The silly Nangong Luo didn't understand it for a moment. He raised his head and patted his chest and said loudly, "Ang, I have already said it first. I am on the side of my only sister. Just go check it when I ask you to do it, don't talk so much nonsense." "I don't go. It's none of my business if Li Moer's hairpin is lost. I won't go." Nangong Luo has a close relationship with Gongqin Li because Gongqin Li is always the only one who praises Ye and then demotes Li Moer, which makes Nangong Luo hate Li Moer. Moer's impression flew down 3,000 feet. Nangong Luo was unwilling to help Li Moer. Yezikin's face turned cold. "I asked you to find out when and where Li Moer got her hairpin." "Well." Nangong Luo's forehead seemed to have 3 black lines drawn across it. Yezikin glanced at him and said solemnly, "Your brain should be rebuilt." Nangong Luoshan trembled. "Boss. That immature baby face looks particularly aggrieved." He accidentally misinterpreted the boss's order. "That was really not intentional." "Don't worry, boss, I'll leave immediately, little one." Nangong Luo was a shameless and arrogant person when he was arrogant, but until he stopped helping Li Moer, he was very efficient in doing things. "Boss, that's the only store in our area that sells them, but at that time there were only 2 cards. The purchase record shows that shortly after we left the jewelry store, your mother, Mrs. Ye, bought another hairpin." There was a scratching sound, and the pen in Yezikin's hand was crushed with his bare hands. Yezikin's eyes showed an imperceptible stern look. "Sure enough. This is the cherry hairpin that I accidentally fell in love with." He did not hesitate to buy exquisite hairpins and have them packaged perfectly in pink boxes just to give Yi a surprise. Unexpectedly, when he was about to give it away, the hairpin Li Moer was actually wearing the same hairpin. Of course he would not give the same thing to Ye Wei knowing that the person next to him had a cherry hairpin. So he did not hesitate to destroy the share in his hand. This thing was originally a small thing that he discovered by chance, so he just regarded it as a coincidence without investigating the reason. It was just Li Moer doing something with a cherry hairpin that caught his attention. This investigation revealed a lot of dark truths. Yezikin threw all the fragments of the pen in his hand into the trash can and left the classroom directly. "Boss, where are you going?" "Find someone. Grade 1, Grade 2, Junior High School." Li Moer cried in front of her classmates, and the other classmates pretended to comfort her in the name of the Ye family. "That thing is very important to me." Gongqin Li felt guilty for a moment and covered her face with a book, but she really felt uncomfortable. "That thing was given by a relative. If it were lost like this, I would feel sorry for them." Seeing that Li Moer attached so much importance, and thinking that Li Moer had always been running to Yezikin in the past 2 days, some people speculated, "Li Moer, did the hairpin come from Yeshao?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 154. Chapter 154, Deliberately Creating Misunderstandings. Unexpectedly, someone asked directly, "Did Yezikin give me the card?" No matter how expensive the card is, it is just a drop in the bucket for Yejia, but Li Moer cares so much because the person who gave the card must be a special person. "It's Yezikin." Li Moer pretended to be wiping her tears and sobbing to answer, but when she blinked, she saw a familiar figure walking outside the classroom. The classmate next to me wanted to confirm the answer, "Is it really a gift from Mr. Ye?" Li Moer quickly shook his head and changed his words, "No, no, no, I haven't made it clear yet. It was a gift from Yezikin's mother. I feel bad that the gift from my elders was lost." She originally wanted to tell everyone that it was a gift from Yezikin, in order to create the illusion that they had a good relationship. 3 people make a tiger. At that time, even if someone spread this word to Yezikin's ears, she could explain that others had misunderstood. At this time, The baby-faced Nangong Luo walked in carelessly and approached Li Mo'er with a smile. "Miss Li, I have something to ask you. Come with me." Li Mo'er lowered his head and twitched his eyes, thinking that Nangong Luo was really stupid. He was obviously the heir of the four major families, but he was willing to follow Yezikin as his younger brother. This was simply disrespecting himself and ruining his identity. But she could only think about it in her heart, but she couldn't say it out loud. Nangong Luo personally came to invite someone. Li Mo'er couldn't refuse, so he followed him with a weak attitude. She knew that Nangong Luo and the others all liked Ye Weiwei. In this case, she faced them with Ye Weiwei's character. But this time Li Mo'er's wishful thinking was about to be ruined. Facing Yezikin's stern face, he shouted, "Brother Chen." Of course, Yezikin never responded to Li Mo'er's call. Yezikin ignored her coy attitude and asked coldly, "Tell me, what's going on with the hairpin?" Hearing Yezikin ask about the hairpin, Li Mo'er's eyes flashed with joy, and she complained to him without hesitation, "I put the hairpin in the locker during physical education class, and when I went back to get it, it was gone." However, Yezikin stared deeply into Li Mo'er's eyes, as if he understood everything in her mind. Li Mo'er. Just by calling out his name coldly, Li Mo'er was shocked, her feet trembled, and she pressed the wall and pretended to be calm and replied, "Yes. What I want to hear is the origin of the card issuance." Li Mo'er looked down at her toes and quickly organized something to say in her mind. Just when she was about to tell a half-truth and half-lie, Nangong Luo suddenly tilted his head and looked at her. "Miss Li, the boss can't tolerate half a lie, please be patient." The moment he saw Nangong Luo's eyes filled with smiles, Li Mo'er suddenly felt inspired. She thought about the day she got the hairpin. That day she was shopping with Madame Ye, and accidentally saw Yezikin and Nangong Luo buying something in a jewelry store. After they left, Madame Ye took her into the store and said, "Just now I saw that the two people in front of me chose something good. Let me take a look at it." Li Mo'er admired Madame Ye at that time. Obviously they didn't see anything, but Madame Ye came in without asking and just let people take it. Even if the seller was confused, he followed the principle of customer first and took another one. "Guest, you are really discerning, there are only these two cards in the whole city. The lovely lady next to you must be your daughter, it looks good at her age." Mrs. Ye gave her the hairpin with a smile on her face and asked her to wear it in front of Yezikin. "Now you know that the card was not sent by Chen, right? How can you doubt brother Chen? Kixi Festival, a new week has begun. Whether you are working, studying, or doing other things, Kaibao, come on." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 155. Chapter 155 Secretly pouring out the medicine. Yezikin sorted out all the truth and warned Li Mo'er, who cried and promised not to cause trouble. In the past few days, Yezikin did not receive any more calls from Ye Weiwei. In total, he and Ye Weiwei haven't seen each other for a few days. That night, Ye Weiwei twisted her leg, and he carried her home. That night, Weiwei lost her umbrella, and he went to pick it up himself. They still get along with each other as before, but there is a feeling of gradual alienation. Ye Weiwei has only been away from Ye's house for a long time. They have had several cold wars. If this continues, he is afraid that, the two of them will go against each other. With this idea taking root in his mind, Yezikin looked at the phone with his deep eyes, clicked quickly with his fingers, and involuntarily dialed Ye's only number. He thought he would hear the girl calling brother softly, but he didn't expect that what he heard was a series of coughing sounds. Ifir. Cough cough cough. The weather has turned colder, and I was lucky to catch a cold at night. No longer caring about the Cold War or who bowed his head first, Yezikin grabbed his clothes and ran out. "Chenur, where are you going at 8 o'clock, Mrs. Ye, who was wearing a facial mask, opened her eyelids when she heard the footsteps. It is 8 o'clock in the evening. Yezikin stood at the entrance with a calm expression and expressed his attitude concisely, "Mom, don't interfere in the only thing in the future." Mrsya immediately took off her mask and stood up. There was anger in his eyes. "Chenur, are you going to find that little again? You're not allowed to go." Madame Ye completely hated Shang Huaqianhui because of her relationship. Now that Huaqianhui is dead, her hatred has turned to Ye. "Only on my body." She knew that her son had a special affection for Ye Wei and it was inconvenient for her to do it herself, so she took every opportunity to make trouble. At that time, she knew that Yezikin bought the cherry hairpin, and she was absolutely sure that it was for Ye Wei. She figured out her son's thoughts and used Li Mo'er to provoke Ye Wei and cause misunderstanding between them. She didn't expect that her son would threaten her, her biological mother, for the little bitch. "I am your mother, you have to think clearly about which is more important." "Mom, you probably need some sense." Yezikin was worried about the sick man, but did not bother with Mrs yet. If that was not his biological mother, his method of dealing with it was more than just a warning. Sicknesses came like a mountain. Ye Wei rarely got sick when he was at Ye's house. This time the cold was quite serious. Looking at her face turning red due to fever, Yezikin felt distressed and angry. "You didn't tell me that you had a cold for 2 days, Xiao Li, what do you want?" Ye Wei was still holding on, but when he heard this question, Ye Wei couldn't hold back his emotions immediately. "I'm very, very stupid. If I let my brother see my useless look again, why don't you like me, manage?" "Xiao Lian. You doubt me so much. You can't see my devotion to you. Even if I say a few words to you, it will be engraved in your heart." Ye Wei was speechless. She is so cautious because she doesn't have confidence in herself. Yezikin wanted to teach her a lesson, but when he saw the needle inserted in the back of her hand and the infusion bottle dropped next to her, he sighed and everything turned into concern. Yezikin stayed with her all day and didn't go anywhere, and Ye Wei felt happy. When the nurse brought her medicine, Ye Wei used the pain as an excuse to ask Yezikin to go out and buy candy for her. And she poured out all the medicine. Enruan suddenly opened the door and saw Ye Wei's strange behavior. "Xiao Lian, you." Someone in the book review section said that they want to read The Great Abuse. What do you think? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 156. Chapter 156 Enruan informs. Enruan caught her pouring the medicine away, and at that moment, Ye Wei was a little frightened. But she was just stunned for a moment and then pouted, "The medicine is so bitter. I drank half of it and couldn't drink it and then, fell down." Ruan, can you not tell other people?" Okay. And Ruan came in and only saw Ye Wei pouring out the medicine, and didn't know how much she poured out. He thought Ye Wei was so honest, so he didn't doubt her story. Yezikin came back with the candy soon. When he saw the empty bowl on the table, he casually asked, "Have you finished drinking?" "Finished." Perhaps due to a guilty conscience, Ye Wei's reaction was a little more excited. Yezikin did not pursue the issue and gave her one candy. "Don't eat more." I know." And Ruan witnessed the whole process of Yezikin's considerate care of Ye Wei from the side. He felt more and more that this man was handsome and gentle. He was simply the embodiment of the perfect male protagonist in the novel. The second grade of junior high school is the age when little girls first have their love interest. When you meet such a good man, you will easily fall in love with him. In order to perform well in front of Yezikin, Enruan served Ye Wei in various ways. She rushed to do everything like pouring water and cutting fruits. The only thing I felt bad about was yeah, who kept saying no, but Enruan just couldn't calm down. Ye Wei was quite touched at first, but gradually she discovered that Enruan would prepare one for Yezikin every time he asked her if she wanted something, smiled sweetly at him, and always peeked at Yezikin from time to time. Ye's heart skipped a beat as he bit into the apple, and he didn't know how to taste it. Slowly, Enruan's focus began to shift from caring about Ye Wei to talking to Yezikin. Yezikin basically ignored her, but she still acted enthusiastically, as if she couldn't understand other people's scorn. Ye only threw the apple and made two cough sounds. Yezikin was already standing beside her. "What, do you want some water?" "No need, my throat is just a little itchy." She shook her head and touched her throat. "Drink some warm water to moisten your throat." Yezikin couldn't help but hand her the warm water prepared beside him. Ye Wei took it with a smile and drank more than half of the water cup. Seemingly satisfied, she narrowed her eyes and smiled slightly, like a successful fox. Fox. When did this word become used to describe the only thing in the night? She is obviously a little sheep. In the afternoon, Yezikin received a call and went out. Enruan no longer wanted to chat awkwardly with Ye Wei anymore, so he stood up and waved goodbye to her. "I'm going home today. Take good care of yourself." Enruan spoke with concern, and Ye Wei accepted her kindness. When Enruan went out, the nurse came in with the second medicine of the day, and the two of them passed each other. Enruan walked out with a shoulder bag and pressed the elevator button. When the elevator door was about to open, she seemed to think of something and suddenly fell back. This time, Enruan did not push the door open directly and call for someone. Instead, he stood outside and quietly opened a gap. Her eyes widened in surprise. She clearly saw Ye Wei throw away all the complete medicines, and some pills, which were also destroyed and thrown into the trash can. Ye Wei said it was bitter, but he threw away the pills too. She didn't take any medicine at all. Enruan closed the door, pretending that he didn't know what was going on, and left the ward door with complicated thoughts. So it turns out that Ye Wei is not as obedient as she appears, and is she deliberately being petty? Enruan smiled, looked around, and finally walked to Yezikin. "Well, brother Ye, I want to tell you something. I just saw. Have you ever seen someone say that Ye Wei pretended to be sick? Can you guess whether it is true or false?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 157. Chapter 157. Personally admitted, he is my boyfriend. Enruan walked to Yezikin and spoke with a smile. They had no idea that Ye Wei was standing at the other corner, watching the two of them intently. Ye's only hand was on the cold wall tiles, slowly tightening. "Hey, why did you come out?" The nurse passing by saw the little girl in hospital clothes and couldn't help but ask more. Ye Wei hurriedly turned around and smiled shyly at the nurse sister. "It's so stuffy in there. I just wanted to come out for a walk. I'll be back soon." Ye Wei slowly walked back to his ward, looking down at every step he took. At this time, if anyone is around her, they will find that although the night is just as quiet, it looks completely different from the innocent and harmless person she usually is. I don't know why, but the next day after the infusion and medication, my condition worsened. Yezikin angrily yelled at her attending doctor. Ye Wei cooperated with the doctor's treatment extremely obediently. Although the injections and other injections hurt, she bit her lip and remained silent. Yezikin sat next to her and held her back, coaxing her in a soft voice, "Cry when it hurts." Crying occasionally is also a good way to vent and distract. But Ye Wei shook his head and did not cry. "I used to be laughed at because I cried a lot. I have to work hard to grow up and I can't cry anymore. You shouldn't shed tears easily in front of others, but you don't have to hide your emotions in front of me." Yezikin lowered his head and whispered in her ear, and his gentle breath surrounded him. giving people an extremely reassuring feeling. Ye Wei pursed his lips and mumbled with his bitten red lips, "Really? Don't you dislike me?" Yezikin quietly inserted his fingers into her black and smooth hair, and said in a doting tone, "You can cry in my arms. Brother Chen, you are so kind." She did not cry, but instead smiled as if she had eaten honey. The nurse who was giving the injection silently ate a pot full of dog food. In her spare time, the nurse sister told another nurse on duty about something she encountered while giving an injection in the ward. "Let me tell you, those kids nowadays really don't understand. They both look young, but they are very rich and live in the VIP ward. I felt like I was being shown off even after the injection today. That boy is so doting on the little girl. Sharp. Maybe it's the brother and sister. I don't think so. The two people have different names, and their appearance is not similar at all. How can I say that they feel like a couple when they get along?" The other nurse mouthed "Oh" and nodded. "He's my boyfriend." A voice came out suddenly from the side, and the two nurses reflexively put away their mobile phones and were startled. Turning his head to look, he found that the protagonist he was talking about magically appeared next to him. He also explained to them, "He is not my brother, he is my boyfriend." For it. I don't know why the little girl emphasized this topic. The nurse would never dare to offend the patients in the VIP ward. "Miss Jiao, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to talk about you behind your back." The nurse apologized repeatedly. "It doesn't matter." Ye Wei smiled sweetly at them. At first glance, she looked really innocent. "I just heard my sisters talking and told you the truth." Yes, we remember." Ye Wei's smile did not diminish. He looked up unintentionally and saw Ruan coming from a distance. Ye Wei turned around and said, "Sister nurse, can you do me a favor? I heard that you like blackened bells very much. Actually, I really like Chinese Valentine's Day, and I feel it's so cool to write the dark version. Do you want the little bell to be blackened?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 158. Chapter 158. A patient named Xiaolian. Ruan brought a bouquet of flowers when she came. She wanted to leave a good impression in front of Yezikin. But this time when she was about to enter the VIP ward, she was stopped by the nurse outside the door. "Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for a patient named Xiao Ling from Ward 140. The two nurses looked at each other. The nurse sitting behind the desk pretended to flip through the notebook and said to Ruan, "I'm sorry, the person you are looking for has been discharged from the hospital." "Discharged?" Ruan frowned. She didn't expect that Ye Wei had left. "Yes, the discharge procedures were completed this morning." The nurse said so, and Ruan had no reason to doubt it. She walked aside and called Ye Wei, but no one answered the voice reply. Unable to find anyone, Ruan could only return in despair. After Ruan left, Ye Wei walked out slowly in hospital clothes with an indifferent expression, not feeling guilty at all for deceiving his friend. Because, she knew that Ruan came back secretly yesterday, but she still let Ruan witness her destroying all the medicine. Because she is not afraid to let Ruan know. When I walked up to the two nurses that night, I raised my head, and a simple smile appeared on my round face. "Thank you, sister, I'm really sorry." "It's okay, people with ulterior motives should stay away." Ye Wei narrowed his eyes, nodded and walked back. While walking, I stared at my toes, with the scene just now echoing in my mind. She told the nurse herself that she and Yezikin were childhood sweethearts, and Ruan was the one who wanted to cause trouble in the name of visiting her. These two are young nurses with very open-minded ideas. They have no idea of putting an end to premature love in children, so they helped her. Yes, only seriousness about relationships is limited to "I like Yezikin," so she can't clearly tell who likes her or who others like. However, all things that might hinder her and Yezikin must be nipped in the embryo. It is true that she is sick, it is true that she has a fever, and it is true that she poured medicine. She enjoyed having Yezikin by her side for the past 2 days. She would rather feel uncomfortable for a while, so that Yezikin would not have a cold war with her and would be very gentle to her, very gentle. When a character that has been suppressed for a long time is stimulated one after another, one becomes extremely possessive of the one he loves, which is paranoid and extreme. Yayoi felt that she might be going crazy because she found, it seems that I can't control myself anymore. Once people who have been weak for a long time fight back, they often do things beyond ordinary people's expectations. But fortunately, she still has concerns. For example, when Yezikin is present. Yayoi couldn't always find an excuse to ask Yezikin to leave every time he drank medicine. In the next 2 days, Yezikin watched her drink the medicine with his own eyes, and Yayoi's complexion finally improved. In fact, she still had a way to keep herself sick, but when she saw Yezikin accompanying her day and night while studying hard and doing work in the ward, she felt very distressed. I put my caution away and cooperated with the treatment, and the cold was cured quickly. Yezikin went to pick her up from the hospital. He was afraid that she would be too bored staying in the hospital for the past 2 days, so he didn't drive at all and just led people to walk on the road. Yayoi regained his energy, holding Yezikin's hand and jumping around like a lively little rabbit. Suddenly he jumped in front of Yezikin, raised his head and smiled at him. "Brother Chen, shall we go buy hairpins?" Preview of the next chapter, Yezikin discovers some unspeakable things that Yayoi has done. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 159. Chapter 159, Pamper You, Sweet. You want to issue a card, Yezikin couldn't help but think of the cherry card issue. Yayoi's eyes were clear. "Yes, Brother Chen, are you still reluctant to give me a hairpin?" How could it be? Yezikin squeezed her weak and boneless hand skillfully, with soft eyes. Yezikin could refuse Yayoi's request? Yezikin took Yayoi to choose hairpins. The hair accessories area was about a wall area of 3 meters long and 1 meter wide. The various types of hairpins were dazzling. But Yayoi looked at it twice from left to right, but he didn't stop looking at any hairpin for more than 3 seconds. Yezikin hugged her shoulders affectionately, with a hint of joking at the corner of his mouth. "Why, don't you like her?" Yayoi opened his lips and shook his head silently. Yezikin laughed dumbly, but the little girl's eyes became more critical. However, he liked Yayoi's current personality with her own ideas, so he took the trouble to accompany her to the second and third stores. But Yayoi still hasn't found one he's satisfied with. Yezikin was not impatient at all. "Then look at another company." Yayoi lowered his eyes, and he didn't know what he was doing to make a point, and he had to torment Yezikin. She shook her head and said, "Forget it." Yayoi took the lead and turned towards the door. Yezikin held her hand tightly and pulled her back. Yayoi fell back into Yezikin's arms unprepared. Just when she was about to struggle, Yezikin lowered his head and whispered in her ear, "Don't move." Yayoi suddenly froze and didn't move. Suddenly I felt the long hair on my head being lifted up, 1 strand, 2 strands. Yezikin expertly braided a simple knot above her left ear, and then fixed it with a blue hairpin. After completing the simple work, Yezikin took 2 steps back, put his fingers on his chin and chuckled, "Well, it's very beautiful. This is. I bought it when you were shopping at the first one." Yezikin's appreciation level is also very good. The reason why he didn't take it out was because he wanted to wait for the one that suited his wishes first, but now, it was just right. Yayoi walked to the full-length mirror in disbelief and touched the blue hairpin pinned behind the editor-style hair knot on the left side. The crimson color covered her fair neck and spread to her cheeks. The blue hairpin is mainly made of transparent glass beads, extending out from two tassels woven with extremely fine blue eye silk thread, and decorated with two small and exquisite bells at the end. The tassels will swing slightly when walking, and the sound made by the small bells is very small, which is beautiful but does not make unnecessary noise. She looked delighted. "Did you give it to me specially?" Yezikin snorted softly and asked, "Could there be anyone else?" "Brother, you are so kind." She didn't care that this was a public place. She hugged Yezikin's neck and nuzzled into his warm embrace. "After shopping for so long, it's time to go home." Yezikin sent her home and personally supervised her taking the medicine. Ye Wei found it bitter, but she forgot to bring the candy she bought at the hospital. "It's so bitter, I don't want to drink it." "Not negotiable." "Ah. I remembered, there is still candy in my room. It seems that Li Yulai gave it to me last time. I'll get it for you." Yes, only plan was to throw away the medicine when Yezikin left. This time, because she had already drank more than half of it, it was not to delay her illness. Ye Wei only said that there was candy in the room. He thought it was on the table, but didn't see it. Yezikin opened the desk drawer and paused. Guess what Brother Chen will find in the drawer? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 160. Chapter 160. Hairpin in the drawer, nervous. Yezikin opened Yes Only drawer. In the drawer, there is a candy with a bow tied at the front, but a little further back, there is a transparent cherry blossom pink Ziploc bag containing a broken cherry hairpin. Two round cherry beads, half of which is still whole and the other half has been shattered. It can be seen that someone deliberately sabotaged it. Boom dash. The door of the room was suddenly pushed open. I happened to see Yezikin closing the desk drawer when he rushed in panting with his hand on his chest. She had an eager look on her face. Yezikin turned around and handed her the lollipop with a bow tie. "I found your candy." Yezikin still smiled at her, his eyes were the same as usual, as if nothing had happened. Ye Wei didn't know if he had seen the destroyed hairpin. She blinked and breathed a little heavily. "How did you run up here?" I suddenly remembered that I put it in the drawer. I was afraid Brother Chen wouldn't find it." She pursed her lips to explain to Yezikin the reason why she rushed in, but it was not the truth. The real reason is, she suddenly remembered that the destroyed cherry hairpin was also placed in the drawer. If it was discovered. "Brother Chen, did you only find this candy? Is there anything else?" she made innuendo. "Oh, is there more than one?" Yezikin pretended to open the drawer. Ye Wei quickly ran over and held it down. "No, no need, just one is enough." Yezikin touched her head. "Don't eat too many candies. You need to rest for a while. I'll go to the kitchen to prepare lunch for you." "Yeah, I like the food made by my brother the most." The corners of her lips were raised, her dimples were shallow, and her eyebrows were arched in a smile. After Yezikin left the room, the smile on Ye Wei's face disappeared completely, replaced by solemnity. She opened the drawer and saw that the inner part of the drawer was covered by several pieces of colored cardboard. Opening the cardboard, you will find that the Ziploc bag containing the cherry hairpin is sandwiched in the center. Fortunately, she forgot how she put it in, but since it was sandwiched in the middle, Yezikin must not have noticed it. The only time to relax at night. She ran to the kitchen, looked at Yezikin's busy back, and took the initiative to asking for help. Yezikin pushed the person away directly. "Have a good rest, my skills are better than yours. I can also make delicious food." Ye Wei puffed up his cheeks unconvinced. These days, she likes to study cooking when she is alone at home. As for the last time she told Su Yujin that she didn't know how to cook, it was entirely because she didn't want to do it. But no matter what, Yezikin will not let Ye Wei do anything here. But I want to be here with you. Go to the door. I don't want her to be exposed to the smell of cooking fumes. Ye Wei was very obedient at this time. Yezikin turned his back to her, and the expression on his face was not as calm as he said. The object in the hospital, the card in the drawer. He was certain that Ye only knew about the cherry hairpin, and the hairpin in her drawer was most likely the one Li Mo'er lost. While eating, Ye Wei her hair and carefully put the blue hairpin aside. Do you like this hairpin? Yezikin asked casually. Ye Wei nodded firmly, of course. It's from my brother. What if I give it to someone else? Boom. Ye Wei's expression suddenly changed, and he pressed the chopsticks he just picked up heavily on the table. It's over, it's over. Do you think Xialing Dang will fall out with Brother Chen? End of this chapter.